back to Member Musing. You're joining me, Brooke Hall, as I talk to Middle East and North Africa Leisure and Attractions Council members about the thriving MENA leisure landscape. This Menalac podcast brings you engaging dialogues regarding the MENA leisure and entertainment sector, as well as spotlighting the pioneering products, thrilling offerings, and amazing accomplishments of Menalac members. On today's episode, I have a returning guest, Menalac founder and board member Prakash Vivekanand, founder and managing director of Amusement Services International. It's wonderful to have you back on the podcast, Prakash. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much, Brooke. Good to be back on these podcasts. And, I always enjoy this. And thank you for having me back.
As do I. Now, Prakash, you have kindly agreed for me to probe you and gain more insight into a Menalac initiative that you are spearheading. This is the Menalac MENA Leisure Report 2025. This is the second edition of the publication, which is set to be released in the second quarter of this year. And so I'm very eager to know more about it. Prakash, this report has been billed as a 400 plus page data-driven resource, all about the MENA leisure market. But what types of data will be included in this report, and who is it aimed at, Prakash?
So, I was fortunate enough to be associated with the first edition of the MENA Leisure Report, which is why the board had the confidence to allow me to also spearhead the second edition. So I'm grateful to the board for allowing me to do so. It's a known fact for many in the industry and internationally when we go and meet manufacturers, suppliers, operators in different parts, they all have a very skewed opinion about the MENA leisure and entertainment industry. So they know that there's a lot of money that is being spent in this region, but they also question me about the profitability of certain projects and so on and so forth. And a lot of the times, as Menalac and as a board, we felt that data should drive this industry to make our industry is fantastic in this part of the world, and we want this to be represented well in terms of data too. So that was the initiative behind, coming up with this concept of a data report, which called the MENA Leisure Report, which covers the 19 countries in the MENA region, talks about various aspects from simple stuff like demographic data of a country, the macroeconomic numbers in a country, the tourism numbers in that country in terms of inward arrivals and outward tourism spends, in terms of the hotels in that country, how many room nights do they offer, because everything goes hand in hand in terms of what is the per capita spend in that particular country, just more in terms of the disposable income in each of these countries and everything. So those are all more country specific, because more often than not, there are countries that are well developed, there are countries still in the process of developing. So, and anybody who's desirous of entering any of these countries, if they have access to data which is relevant to the setup of leisure and entertainment business, then that data can be plugged in properly into their business plans and everything, so that they make a wise investment in terms of what it is, or upscale their investment or downscale their investment based on that kind of data. Because sometimes things can grow organically. You get in a certain way based on that data, and then the market will continue to surprise you, and maybe it overwhelms you in terms of the fact, wow, I thought the results are way more better than what I anticipated. So you can always scale up from that point. So we want investors, developers, and equipment manufacturers or existing operators or desirous investment to have a wealth of information within a single publication about each of these countries, the policies initiated by the monarchies and the governments in these countries in terms of allowing investments to thrive, the tourism statistics in there, the existing operators in that particular country, what sort of facilities, a pictorial report of the different types of facilities that are presently operational in that country, all available within a single publication. So this is just one side of the demographic and the macroeconomic data that we're talking about. The other side that we wanted to do was we also wanted to measure the health of our country, health of our industry from time to time with respect to, in various countries, and what are the specific trends that are emerging in each of these countries from existing operators who all very kind enough and consentful in the larger interest of our industry and the growth of our industry, consented to participate in a survey program that allows us to understand how have footfall to these sort of leisure and entertainment facilities changed, say in a 2 year period. How have our customers changed in a 2 year period? What sort of people are we employing into this entire thing? How have staff wages fluctuated over a 2 year period, right? So, and what are the games that people are really playing, or what are the attractions that people desire more than others? So, and we've got different modules of information, which is there's an operations module, there's a finance module, there's a human resource module, and then we also want to know, we also want to kind of hear from the CEOs of these businesses at a larger kind of a perspective in terms of, or a wider perspective in terms of where do they see this industry headed towards, and is it going to continue to grow? What are their plans in terms of this industry? Are they planning to expand into new markets? Are they planning to make fresh investments into their existing markets? All and eventually we're going to, at the end of this particular survey, as a part of this book, besides all the demographic, macroeconomic, and all of this information, this book will also have the results of this survey being published as a part of the MENA Leisure Report. Now, this allows, this slowly becomes a benchmark for other operators in the industry to follow. Hey, how does my operation measure against these benchmarks that was published in this report? Am I there? Do I have scope for improvement? Should I do better? Or am I doing fantastic? And therefore, that allows me to emerge as a bigger brand because my entertainment facility is well ahead of the benchmark as reported in the MENA Leisure Report, right? So there's so much data onto this. It's fantastic. And what's great about this is that this is an initiative driven by members of Menalac. This has been asked for by members of Menalac, who are all key players in the MENA leisure and entertainment industry. And they are sharing a wealth of information of the industry and the development of the industry, right? So this is a survey, this is probably the first survey which is driven by the industry for the benefit of the industry with fantastic data that is relevant to the industry. We see a lot of leisure reports for different regions and markets and everything else, where there isn't even a distinction drawn between home entertainment and out of home entertainment, and more importantly, the type of entertainment within theme parks, water parks, family entertainment centers. Each of this, I mean, entertainment is such a big word. There are so many segments of entertainment. Because this is a survey that's driven by the industry, we wanted to have data that is also relevant to the industry. And that's what makes this book really special. For anybody who's in the theme park, water park, family entertainment center, play area, visitor attraction business, all the data that is coming out in this particular book is aimed at them, is relevant to them, is useful to them. So
It's like a story, of the region's leisure industry, but without without an ending, because that ending and that future is yet to be kind of created. And so it's quite an exciting publication, such a wealth of information. It's not just data, there's other information, there's I think projects in there and some thought
I think
articles as well. And readers, I guess, can take whatever they want from it. But what is brilliant is it's all in one place. The internet is amazing, but you've got to sit down and do quite a bit of research sometimes if you're looking for something in particular on the internet. But for this dedicated industry in the MENA region, all the hard work has been done for you, and it's literally there. You can sit and have a coffee on a
right.
break, and you can read and you can find out about a certain country, maybe it's a North African country that's up and coming in its leisure market, or expanding into maybe Saudi or the UAE, quite already developed sectors, but how a brand could maybe enhance that further.
I think so. You mentioned the word story. There's less of storytelling in this book. Almost everything that we're trying to put in there are facts. And each of these facts that we're trying to put out there are from verified sources, right? So from the macroeconomic data to the demographic data to the tourism numbers and everything. So everything is coming from a reliable and credible source. So you're right in saying that all of this information is probably available on the internet. But a person who's desirous of knowing more about this region will probably need to do multiple searches from different countries. And then they need to probably filter through a lot of information because, as I said, the definition of entertainment is so skewed in everything, right? The moment you say leisure, going for a walk with your dog can be leisure, and going to an entertainment park is also leisure, right? So and when you say amusement park, then it leads you in a certain way, but excludes, play areas and, family entertainment centers. So, and that's why we needed this focus as people from the industry to get data that's relevant to the industry and put all of that in one place. And that's, I think, is what makes this report special. And when we did the first edition, we started working on the first edition at the beginning of 2020, and COVID kind of delayed the entire release of that entire thing. Eventually, we released this publication in 2022. And at that time, the board said that, hey, wow, I mean, not just the board, before I go to the board, the feedback that we received from different people about this report and everything was phenomenal. They came back and said, hey, this is so relevant. We tried to look at various things. We thought that this industry is headed in a certain way in terms of data, in terms of spend per person or spend per transaction, in terms of the F&B habits and everything else. But a lot of what's published in this book completely changed my opinion on market and how I should do something. This is the type of feedback that we have from a lot of people to open their eyes towards what is trending, what's really working, how should they really orient their business plan to be successful, right? So, and following this, we had a beginning of 2024, I was at a trade show in Saudi Arabia, and we had many people who came in and asked us, hey, Prakash, when is the next edition of MENA Leisure Report going to come out? He said, yeah, we haven't thought about it. We are thinking about launching the next edition, but we haven't really got working on that. And then there were different players from the industry who came in and said, well, we would like you to, because the last one was really exciting in terms of data. We shaped a lot of our business plan and everything else on the basis of that. And getting this kind of feedback from Saudi Arabia, which is at this point in time, the most attractive leisure and entertainment market, with so many exciting projects being announced, and it's Vision 2030 and beyond with everything. And then for them to come back to be basing a lot of these projects and everything else on numbers provided for by the industry already gives all of these projects a better chance to succeed. Because even when we look at some of the information that's coming from top consulting houses and everything else, it's a melange of information. It's not specific to our sector. Sometimes they say $13 billion in something invested in entertainment. It really doesn't define what type of entertainment it is, right? So with us, we're really trying to come there. And in terms of the storyboarding and the dreams that are in there, we wanted to also cover the dreams, because those dreams are important for our industry, right? So, and that's why we partnered with another company that specializes in project-based information to have a section in this which announces all the big infrastructural and ambitious projects that are announced in each country. Because sometimes, you could have a massive new infrastructural development or a township development, right? That is going to attract a lot of population, that is going to attract new industries and everything else to a specific country. That then opens the door. If you're keeping a track of that, and the status of where they are at and where is it construction, when is this infrastructure project expected to finish, that then opens up an opportunity for you to set up a leisure and entertainment facility as a part of an upcoming shopping mall, or as a theme park, or as a municipal park, or as an amusement concept within a municipal park. It just opens doors, right? You can start saying, hey, that's a big project in Kuwait, and I would like to be involved in that, or I'd like to know more about that. Now, all of that information is available. That's probably the future aspect of this particular book in terms of all the various projects and sometimes even statuses of these projects in terms of how much have they achieved in terms of construction, 50% complete. They're still on track to finish in, let's say, 2032 or 2036, whatever that is. It gives you focus. It allows you to understand markets, whether you are a player who's based, say, in America, who's looking to sell something to this region, or whether you are a investor who is interested in investing into some of these burgeoning markets and burgeoning projects and everything else, then you know what these statuses are. Our idea was to bring all of this in one place so that you have a wealth of information within a single resource.
I mean, yeah, it absolutely makes sense to have a second publication with an industry, that's going to continuously grow for years and
Right.
years. Like you've said, the readers of the first edition want to know more. They're eager to develop more, or new players,
Right.
to the leisure and entertainment and attractions game. Excuse the pun.
Yeah.
So, Prakash, you're an amusement supplier. What are you looking forward to kind of reading, or what would you specifically look for in this new edition of the MENA Leisure Report?
Oh, so much information. As a supplier, um, our endeavor is always to ensure that our products are popular in any leisure and entertainment facility, and that popularity is purely measured by the number of people who use that particular product, right? To know footfalls is very important for us as suppliers. To know average per capita spend is very important for us as suppliers. To know what are the trends in terms of what type of products are more trending. So like I'm mostly in the family entertainment center business, so it would be very useful for me to know if roller coasters are making more money within a family entertainment center, or is it play areas that are making more money, or is it the arcade games that are making more money? It's important for me to know like how good are the AR and VR side of the attractions being well received. There was something that everybody went after to in the last like 2 3 years or whatever, but now they seem to be more cautious about going into VR and AR and everything else, and they're waiting for the next generation of development in this, so that maybe it's mixed reality or whatever. So the book for me as a supplier, it gives me all of this fantastic information for knowing I would very closely and eagerly see what the CEOs are saying in terms of what are they doing, in terms of are their businesses growing, what is their trend, do they plan to open newer facilities, do they plan to reinvest within their existing facilities, or do they just want to primarily upgrade technology, or do they want to primarily upgrade their entertainment content? So all of which helps my business plan in terms of looking forward and thinking whether hey, how do I do this? And these are all the type of CEOs who said, but we're not going to know what those CEOs said. 90% of the CEOs said this is where it is headed, and this is where they plan to do. That means I know that all these CEOs are planning on reinvesting into their existing businesses, or I know that they're planning to explore newer markets. And then next time I have conversations, hey, were you one of the respondents at the Menalac Leisure Report? And I'd like to know, you said that you probably in the 90% of the CEOs who said you're going to expand into new markets. What markets are you going to expand into? It's a nice breaker for me. So I can go in there and have these conversations with them, right? So I would be truly excited as a supplier in terms of this book. But as I said, I also wear another hat as an operator. So even as an operator, for me, when I get an industry benchmark that on average, the spend per transaction is, let's say, $50. And then if I'm not achieving that $50 spend per transaction, I may need to look back and then look at my facility, see, am I in the right demographic? Am I in the wrong demographic? Why am I not attracting that $50 spend? What is it that I need to do to get to that $50 spend, right? Or the average footfall into facilities of certain sizes are let's say X, and then am I achieving that footfall or not? And what do CEOs generally feel about rents that they're all paying. Do they think the rents are very high? Do they think the rents are low? There are so many pointers that we can both, both operators and suppliers can get out of this book. It's a uh, there's always a saying that there's a wealth of information that's all available around you. It's a question of how you use this information. To the smart ones, when they have this sort of information in a single book, they will know how to use this to benchmark their business and direct their business to become more successful.
I think that was great to hear your perspective, Prakash, being a supplier and, of course, an operator, and also your third hat, leading this initiative. I know how proud you will be, as well as Menalac, as an organisation, as a council, and all the board members when this publication comes out. There isn't a launch date set, but we know it's Q2, somewhere in Q2, which isn't that far away, Prakash. So we're all very excited.
Excited, yes. At the same time, it's a lot of hard work, especially, they say that the last quarter is always, or rather the last 25% of the production of this book is always the most strenuous part, where the end looks so near, but then there are so many loose ends to tie up and bring this all together. So we're probably in that home stretch right now, and the team's working very, very hard to put things together. And I'm blessed to have a fantastic team working on this with me, and both from the external business editors to the agencies that are putting things together, but also the internal people of Menalac who are working every day to put all this data together, reaching out to various members to complete their surveys and everything else and send that data back to us. We have to fight every day to say that every data that they share with us is 100% confidential. The software is so set that any data that comes out from any organization, nobody knows who has sent this data, right? It's only their answers that go into a software that then brings this out as meaningful numbers, which are then reviewed by an audit company. Even they don't see who's the respondent. They only see the data that has been responded, right? And then this is then made up into those numbers and everything else based on their responses and then shared. So this whole exercise is a lot of effort. It looks easy. It's a 500-page book. This was the first edition of the book, and it had all sort of information. And this was the whole survey page where we had, I think, the last time we had over 375 respondents answering this from different parts of the region, and that respondents include from theme parks, water parks, trampoline parks. We then again understanding the sensitivity of the industry, we also divided this even further for the second edition. So we thought that the family entertainment center performs very differently from a play area. The dynamics of these two businesses are different. So we said play area should be a separate module in itself because it cannot be compared otherwise to a family entertainment center. And a theme park has to be separated from a water park, and because the dynamics of these two industries are different. So it's a lot of effort, exciting times, strenuous times. At this point, we are excited. We were very excited when we were asked to start working on this. That whole phase of formulating all those questions and then understanding this is relevant to industry, that's not relevant to the industry. We have to be mindful of the amount of time our members are going to be spending, answering these questions. How much of that time are we taking? And all of this, and addressing some aspects like nationalization, what are the right things to do? What are the wrong questions to ask? What are the real challenges? Everything. That phase was really exciting. And then now probably it's exciting, but at the same time, it's stressful, I must say, right? Because we want to meet that finish line and we want to bring that finish line. We want to make sure that this report eventually is very meaningful to the industry in terms of what it is. So yeah, we are excited, stressed, eagerly looking forward to that finish line.
No, I mean, just showing a quick snippet of the first edition there, Prakash, you can see how much is going on. It's not a 5 minute read, so I can imagine, all of the people and the information being pieced together. And you say if that's where you are now, then I'm sure it's a wonderful feeling to see it coming together and what this new edition will look like. Obviously, a lot of similar types of data and information, but some new things, as you said, some slightly different kind of questions have been asked. Some new data will come from that. And also, of course, new things that are just happening in the region, of course, are going to be included in there as well. So hopefully,
Must interrupt you here. It's just not the data is sometimes the same, but it's updated.
yes.
So we may have, there is a population sometimes in terms of population census and everything else. When we did 2020, the latest census in terms of official information we had was 2018.
Mm.
Today, when we're going into that same population data, we're getting updated information to 2024. So we know what the real, updated information is. Because once I have this information and I know that, oh, wow, here's a country where I've got a high number of people or kids in the age group of, let's say, 0 to 7, right? That clearly says that these kids are going to grow up and they're going to be the 0 to 7 gives me a market for play areas. These kids are going to grow up in 2 years. I'll have a good market for family entertainment centers and everything. So it's about how many young parents are in there and how are they indulging and everything else and what sort of products should I really be able to cater to them. So having that updated information is very important. The other aspect of this book is also the vision articles and everything else that are coming from some of the true visionaries shape the many developments, many fantastic developments across this entire region. So we will have a showcase of several visionaries who are sharing their story in terms of what led to this vision and how have they fulfilled this vision and what is their vision going forward. So those would be brilliant reads for anybody who's getting their hands onto this book. Apart from this, we've also got experts from each segment of the industry talking to us about the status of this industry. So there'll be a status report separate for family entertainment centers, play areas, theme parks, water parks, and visitor attractions. So in this, we'll have a panel of different experts who are giving their opinions to a same set of questions so that we have the audience can or the readers can see diverse opinions from different people. Sometimes they're aligned, sometimes they don't need to be. So on what do they think about the present status of ed? What do they think about the present competition and cannibalization in that market? Where do they see the growth in this? Has the industry really recovered to 2019 levels or have we gone beyond? And what does the next 5 years look like in terms of what it is? Because and those are all other than those demographic reports in the survey, you've also got this wealth of information. And then this book will also contain information on all the Menalac members, their brands, and everything else. So even for someone who's keen to make connections in this particular industry, it's good for them to subscribe to this book or have a copy of this book. So then they know who are all the Menalac members with desires of doing business in this region. Then they've got the name of these members, who are the key people in that organization, what are their telephone numbers. So it's a I can talk a lot about this, but I'm indeed very proud of this particular book. I've had different trade missions from different embassies reach out to me and ask me when is the next edition going to be published. This is a book that would go to all such trade missions and embassies so that each of these countries know who are the key players and what is happening in this particular industry from a MENA perspective. I've got chambers of commerce receiving copies of this book. This book will go to all real estate developers and others so that they know who are the key players in this particular market. So there's a reason for anybody who's remotely connected to leisure, retail, entertainment to have a copy of this book with them.
It really is a report for the industry by the industry. And you can see the passion and the excitement just coming from you, Prakash. And you'll have made our audience just as excited, just as keen. So we're excited for that Q2 launch deadline. Thank you so much, Prakash, for taking the time to
Okay.
speak with me again on Member Musing, sharing those vastly important details about the upcoming MENA Leisure Report 2025.
Thank you. Just one last word. I thank all those members who've already completed their surveys. And I encourage all of you who've not completed those surveys to please send us in, because end of the day, this data is going to be useful not just to you, but to the entire industry. And what other people are contributing will be useful to you. So thank you so much. And thank you for this opportunity. And absolutely pleased to be leading this drive yet again. And looking forward to sharing this information with all of you. Thank you.
To our audience, if you would like further information on how you can be a part of this report, that's from contributing to advertising and, as Prakash has just mentioned, participating in that operator survey, please check out the links we will put in the description section of this episode. And watch this space for launch date announcements and, of course, how you can get your hands on a copy of the publication. Thank you for tuning in to Member Musing. I'll be back with more thrilling happenings from across the MENA leisure and attractions industry very soon. Goodbye.